Because our hearts, there's something there, there's nudges, there's messages that sometimes we tend to ignore because we're too heady. And we forget that, oh, I've got some wisdom in my heart. And I want to bring these messages to see what's alive in there. What can we put more life and breath in? And in doing this, to really be playful, be courageous, have an experimental attitude to witness these parts of us. And for some of us, that stirring inside, because that's what might happen today, is a little exciting. And for some of us, it might cause some discomfort. And all is perfect. And so, I'm going to invite us just to really set consciously the intention for the energy today. So I invite you, if it feels comfortable, to close your eyes or have a soft gaze. The point of this is to just take your attention inward into your relationship with you right now. Place one hand on your heart, the other one on your belly, which is your intuition. And I just invite you to say hello to yourself by taking a breath in. And then, like a tree, your feet are the roots. Just breathe down into your roots. It's not yummy. And so let's tune in. Let's bring your awareness and your attention into your heart. Notice what's alive right now for you as you're here. And we set the intention to listen to your heart and your gut, where your other hand is. We run on 3 different engines: our head, our heart, and our gut. But like I mentioned, oftentimes we get too heady, and head gets a little too bossy. So today we get to listen and lead with our hearts, with the messages in there. Because sometimes our head goes, oh, no, I'm not listening to you today. And today we're going to honor these parts of us. So I want you to just breathe in. And then again, grounding down into your feet. This is your energetic foundation. And then to trust that as you feel the stirring, as I share the raw, the vulnerable, the maybe embarrassing moments of my stories, that you too see yourselves. You too get activated. And to trust that whatever is coming through is for you to receive, whatever is a heart hit, whatever you're resonating with. You're not going to resonate with everything I say. So take what resonates, leave what doesn't, make it your own. And so, in this next breath, we're also going to just take a breath in and wrap, as you breathe out, wrap light. Imagine this beautiful divine light of love wrapping around all of us in this room as you breathe out. Beautiful. You set the energetic container of the downloads that want to come through, of the messages that are meant for you, so that you can take courage to take accelerated action. Because that's what today's theme is about, is accelerated action. Knowledge is not power. Taking action is power. And we also set the intentions that you meet the people that you're meant to meet here in this room. That is no coincidence that we're here today, that you felt called to be here today. The people that you meet, maybe you don't know the reason yet, but trust that. Keep those relationships, build these relationships. There's a reason you feel attracted to each other. trust this. Taking one more breath in. Feeling your power conjuring in your breath. And then through your solar plexus, as you exhale, create an energetic bubble around yourself. Beautiful. This is your magnetism. This is your bubble that's always available to you, and it's what attracts aligned people and opportunities and protects you from anything that doesn't serve and support. And if your eyes are closed, come on back and just notice the energy now. Notice a deepening, a softening. Now we can start. And I'm going to move this conversation to courage. Courage cannot exist without fear. And of course, fear is a universal emotion. We all feel fear. That's normal. What we don't want to have happen is for that fear to drive the bus. You have dreams inside you. You have gifts inside you. You have your voice. And when we let fear stop us, we don't accelerate forward. You know what the richest place in the world is? It's the graveyard. Because so many people die with their music still inside them. Don't let that be you. So it is our willingness to be courageous, to step into our courage like warriors, that allows us to navigate and break through our fear. And you guys probably have heard fear stands for false evidence appearing real. This is all in here. So we need to shift that. And so it's our willingness to step into our courage to make decisions aligned with our purpose, our joy, our fulfillment, our decisions right here, right now, and to go for it. I used to believe that I needed to have everything figured out before I could make a move. I thought I needed more knowledge, more confidence, a whole list of guarantee that I was not going to fail. Anyone else? Right? But here's the thing. Confidence only comes from taking courageous action. Confidence, by definition, is your ability to believe in yourself, to do something and eventually do it really well. If you think of an infinity loop, there's a confidence-competence loop. The more you do something, the greater your confidence. The greater your confidence, the more you're willing to do that thing, right? And it's activity specific. So am I confident to speak about confidence in front of a bunch of people? Yes. Am I confident to cut my kid's hair? No. But am I confident to learn how to cut my kid's hair? Yeah. Can you see the difference? And confidence is different than self-worth. A lot of people think it's the same thing, so I want to make it clear it's not. Self-worth is the value you hold of yourself. Okay? So that's a concept that we're trying to always grow. So let's talk about a story. Many of us know her, the founder of Spanx, Sara Blakely. So some of us might not know her story. I actually did a little bit of research and I got curious. What is her story? Well, she's always been a visionary, a dreamer. Ever since a little girl, she had like little entrepreneurial projects. She went to law school, failed law school, and for 7 years, she sold fax machines. And she got rejected day after day. And not just politely, like business cards ripped in front of her face, kicked out of offices. Like, she's got to build a tough exterior. And she thought one day, there's got to be more for me. There's got to be more. And so she said, universe, show me. This is intention setting. Show me who I'm meant to be. Show me what I'm meant to do. And so time goes on until one night she's getting ready for a dinner party. She puts on her white pants. She's checking herself out and she goes, oh my goodness, I got panty lines and my cellulite sticking out. I can't have this. So she got creative and she took a pair of pantyhose, cut the feet off, and slipped them on underneath her white pants. And it smoothed everything out. This was her $1 million idea. And Sarah did not have a business degree. She did not have a fashion background. And she did not have any fancy investors. What she did have was $5,000 in her savings account. She had a lot of experience being rejected, and she had the confidence and the courage to make a decision to go for it. And today, Spanx is $1 billion empire. What if she had waited for the perfect time? Which, by the way, doesn't exist. What if she had let fear paralyze her and stop her from her dreams? What if you are too? So I just want you to tune in right now. Let's check in with your hearts again. I want you to just notice what's stirring there. So I shared this story. What's on your heart? What's your dream? What's that next level for you that you're maybe not ready yet, but maybe it's in there. It's wanting to come out. There's these nudges that are happening, that are stirring. I want you to just say, I see you. I see you. I see this message. I feel it right now. We're just playing. I'm going to tell you about my story. In hopes of you seeing, as I share my story, yourself in some of these themes, in hopes of you being activated into taking more courageous action. And I'll do a little bit of a shameless plug, by the way. I just did a TEDx talk, a lifelong dream of mine.
Woo!
Thank you. And it's called How Great Leaders Invite Uncertainty. So please go watch that. I have a dream of this talk impacting at least 1 million people. And I shared a bit of my story in TEDx, and I'm going to actually tell it more in detail today. Because my TED Talk has a little bit more of a business angle. So let's take us back to 2008. Everything on the outside looks perfect in my life. I'm 25 years old. I've just started private practice as a psychologist. I'm a newlywed, and I'm a second-degree black belt in karate and a role model to kids, teens, and adults. I was really confident in everything that I did, and I was happy. But behind closed doors was a different story. Now, I had not done a lot of inner work at this point in time. I was really good at helping other people solve their problems. I didn't really look at myself quite a bit. So when I look back at my 25-year-old self, she had this void inside her. And I was trying to fill this void unconsciously by achieving, and never felt satisfied. I never felt fulfilled. And one day I thought, I'm already a chronic dieter at this point. And again, it's an unconscious thought. Maybe if I compete in a bodybuilding competition and I have this perfect body, I'll finally be happy. And so away I went, dieting, hired a trainer, and it worsened my disordered eating. I would restrict my food, binge eat, feel guilty, beat myself up, and purge by over-exercising. And this went on for years. And even though I had this, we'll say, fitness model physique, I never felt like I was lean enough, that I was muscular enough, that I was good enough. And on that day on stage, June 2008, this bodybuilding competition, I came last. And that devastated me. How could I have worked so hard, like every aspect of my life, and I won, I achieved successfully, and for the first time, I failed. I had a breakdown. And at this time, as a therapist, I was led to learn about this method called Haikomi. Haikomi means how do I stand in relationship with myself, and how do I stand in relationship with others. And it's this approach called the somatic approach, which means body-centered. So it works with the unconscious mind because our unconscious messages and beliefs are in our body, which is why I'm getting you to tune in to your heart and your belly. And it combines neuroscience, psychology, and this thing called spirituality. And as I was, of course, when I'm learning something, I cannot not work on myself. I learned that I was unconsciously operating from this belief that I'm valued in my doingness, my performance, my titles, my status, how much money I'm making, my achievements, rather than my beingness, who I am. And my doingness was never enough. I was like, oh my goodness, no wonder I'm a perfectionist, I'm an overachiever, and I have this mentality of no pain, no gain. I would just beat myself up, criticize myself all the way to success. And that's when I started to come home to myself. And I don't believe that journey ever ends. I'm a lifelong seeker and learner on anything personal development and spiritual and business. But I learned then how to embrace perfectly imperfect, the art of slowing down, and I turned my pain to purpose. So now I love helping others be fully expressed in who they authentically are, create life and business from this place of authenticity and joy, and have what they desire. Be, do, have. And went on to get certified in Haikomi because it changed my life so much. And to this day, I still use it as a transformational leadership and business coach and spiritual guide. And I even teacher assisted because that's how much I loved Haikomi. And in 2012, I got certified in eating psychology. And I became the go-to psychologist in Edmonton for former versions of me, people who also struggle, men and women, in food and body image, which are portals into loving ourselves, to our own relationship with ourselves. And I loved the transformation, not on the outside, on the inside. People started to, regardless of their weight, their body shape, their size, love themselves, lean in, improve their self-worth, expand into possibilities. And I was so inspired by this that I thought, I want to make more impacts. You know that feeling? Have you ever had that feeling where you're like, something bigger. There's something bigger. You might not know what's up here, but like your heart feels it. It's like, whoa, whoa. I felt that. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? That feeling? It's like something bigger has to happen. And so I had some peers who were psychologists in the States. And in the States, to be a psychologist is not as strict as it is in Canada. You can be a psychologist and a coach at the same time. In Canada, not so much. And so I had this idea because I was looking at them and they have online programs. I'm like, how can I make this happen? And so I did some research, I talked to my governing body, and nobody really had answers. The one ethics person at the time, who's probably been sitting on the board for 30 years, so, the online world is probably not his jam. He said, don't do it. It's your reputation. And I went, I don't care about my reputation. I care about making impact. And so I figured it out. I hired a lawyer, and together we figured it out legally and ethically. That made me the first psychologist in Alberta to create an online program in 2015. And that was a lot of risk. That's risking my license. This is me leaning into uncertainty, taking courageous action for something of greater purpose. And I just trusted. And what happened was more doors opened. I got my first international speaking gig with a women's fitness community all about body positivity. And they put me on their magazine cover, and I got to write a 4-page article on how to flex your self-love muscle. Now, this would have been back in 2016. So at this point, I had my 2 boys. I did not diet for this photo shoot. I didn't even know that they would have put me on the cover. I look like a healthy, fit woman, but it definitely don't look like what you would expect on those magazine covers. I was not photoshopped, and on purpose I wore very little clothing. I wore a sports bra and I wore booty shorts because I wanted to celebrate my self-love. That fact that, especially my belly, I was so self-conscious about my stomach my whole life. There's another background story to that, but we're not going to get into that today. And so I wanted to celebrate. I wanted to show women that you can be any shape or size or weight and love yourself. And what happened was women started to write me, Roz, I hate my body. And then I saw your cover, and we kind of look alike. And then I read your article, and you made me think differently about how I go into a relationship with me. How can I work with you? And I couldn't, because they were from the States, and I'm in Alberta, licensed. So I kept doing my thing, and then these nudges kept happening. They got louder. Something stirring in my heart. And I'm like, no, let's push it down. We're going to stay focused on my psychological practice until I couldn't ignore it anymore. I couldn't ignore these nudges. Spirit, God, universe, your higher self, whatever it is that you believe in, plants these seeds in us, and there's these signs that we cannot ignore eventually. And so at this time, I started to dive into my own personal development. And in one of the courses, we had to choose our accountability buddy, but not by our head, blindfoldedly, so with our hearts. And I wanted to go into this course working on my money mindset, working on growing, expanding my business and myself. And who did I manifest as my accountability buddy? A business coach. Well, you can't make that up. Thanks, universe. And so, of course, she was there for her own stuff, and we're working through each. And when you are in these courses, you're very much in your vulnerability. You see each other for who you really are. You take off all your masks. So I kept taking off more masks. And then, a few months later, I asked, what does it look like to work with you? Oh my God, it was so expensive. Holy shit. Holy moly. I was like, okay. So here I am, 1 foot in, 1 foot kind of, I don't know. What if I put all this money, time, and energy and it doesn't work? Have we ever thought of that? I'm not the only one, I know this. Right? And I was like, okay. Still thinking, and then I realized, no. I get to decide. Nobody here is to save me. Nobody here is to save me. I am here to lead myself. I decide if something works because I have that power. No one else has that power. And so it took me 3 weeks, but I signed the contract and I started a self-love coaching business. So this would have been 8 years ago, while still having my psychological practice, so I'm breaking some rules. And I never meant to retire, but as I was successfully growing my coaching business, and very quickly, I started to, because you know where your attention goes, your energy flows, start getting too overwhelmed, right? And my business coach is like, Roz, you need to decide. You need to decide and choose. Okay. Really? Okay, now I'm going to put the weight, how much weight this is of a decision. To become a registered psychologist, it is no easy feat. After you graduate from a master's, you're not a registered psychologist. You need to write an exam, a national exam that many people have a hard time passing the first time. You need to defend yourself in front of a panel of psychologists, and you need to do hundreds of hours, and half of those are supervised. For me, it was counseling. I have a master's in marriage and family. And then, when you pass all that, then you're registered. And my parents, boy oh boy, they were like, these are some of the beliefs I had to work through. Had to take the risk of disapproval from my Asian parents. I'm a first-generation Chinese-Canadian, and my parents are more traditional. They couldn't understand, like, what? How could you go through all this, create a very successful private practice, and like only to throw that out and start all over again in an unregulated profession? What is going on with you? They actually thought my business coach was brainwashing me, and they, for the first time, stopped talking to me. That was hard. I had to trust myself. I had to continue working through beliefs of, what if I fail? What if this doesn't work out? As well, I hate to admit this, but ego was still very much part of it. The title, I still recognize unconsciously, I still have these beliefs of my self-worth tied to my title of registered psychologist. Because it has prestige, it has status, it has weight. And anybody can be a coach. And I'm like, oh. So I had to work through more of that stuff. And I, again, was like, okay, I'm here to live in my purpose. It doesn't really matter what anyone else thinks. I'm here to live in my purpose. I'm here to step into it. I'm here to play full out. So I bet on myself, and I went all in. And I have not looked back. It has been beautiful. So I want you to tune into your heart as you're listening to my story. I want you to notice those heart nudges now. What if fear wasn't in the way? If you knew you couldn't fail, what would you do? Whatever you just thought of, that's your answer. What's that next move? That's your answer. Lock that in. Lock that in. Because that is your intuitive answer. And then our ego goes, oh, no, I'm I'm too old, oh, that's too hard, whatever our excuses are. We listen to what's here and what's here. By the way, whenever we do, it never lies. It never lies. So I'm going to geek out a bit here and tell you a little bit about how our minds work, because I love neuroscience. I am a certified NLP, so Neuro-Linguistics Programming, which is the language of our mind. That's what Tony Robbins says. And hypnotherapy and timeline therapy, which is a form of hypnotherapy. And it is powerful because it's my favorite thing to do is to slay unconscious beliefs and energy leaks so that we can get more aligned with our desires. And so there are 4 stages of learning. The first stage is called unconscious incompetence. You don't know what you don't know. This is our blind spots. I mean, I need somebody to support me in looking at my own blind spots. Can't see them. And then there is conscious incompetence. You know what you don't know. Right? Maybe it's like, oh, I want to start a business, I want to write a book, I want to speak more. But you don't quite know the how-tos. That's this stage. And then third stage is conscious competence. Now you're learning. A great example is driving. Remember the first time you learned how to drive when you were 14, 15, 16? Now, for those of you who live on the farm and you were like 3, that's different, okay? So we're talking about in the city life. So remember how hyper-vigilant we were? We had to pay attention to everything, all the rules of the road, what we're doing with our hands and our feet. Oh my God, it's worse with the standard, right? And then the 4th stage is unconscious competence. This is now automatic. We don't have, for those of us that drive, we don't have to think about it. We just do it. It's automatic. And so in this process, when I work with my clients, that's what's happening. We shift those unconscious beliefs are getting in the way of their desired results, and then they move into behaviors, because behaviors are based on our unconscious, which drive our states and our emotions, and it drives our behaviors. And it's like second nature. It is incredible. Because 90% of our results come from our unconscious mind. So some of these results serve and support us, and some of them don't. So this is about understanding what are those unconscious beliefs we hold within us that aren't working. So I'm going to talk about Carmen. She's a client of mine. She's a professional. And she's going through my Quantum Breakthrough program, which is 8 to 10 hours of rewiring your unconscious mind, and it has to be done in 30 days. Amazing. We're going through like the 2nd session. And this is around December, the time when Christmas, no one buys. And she's the type of person that when she doesn't meet certain quotas, and so when the pressure is there, she freezes. And then nothing happens, right? No business deals happen. And so we shifted whatever needed to happen, and within that week she closed 2 big deals. And it was Christmas. And now we're moving into, now it's March, right? And she's been hitting all her quotas and even surpassing them with ease. Some of my other clients, they struggle with, and again, see yourself in this if this is true for you. If you're being successful in one area of your life, say business, then some other area of your life falls apart or gets sacrificed, like relationships or your health or your self-care. It's like you can't have it all. And so in the work that I do with my clients, we actually take these conflicting parts of us in the unconscious mind and integrate it together so that you're all made of parts, and we bring it back into a wholeness So then that's where everything starts to move forward because you're no longer in the complex. When you manifest results, that's because your conscious mind is matching your unconscious beliefs. So that's what we want to have happen. Now, imposter syndrome is a really big thing. I struggle with imposter syndrome. And every time I up-level, so just to be clear, imposter syndrome is feeling like a fraud despite the evidence, despite how much education and letters you have after your name. And I notice that every time I up-level, it pops up. It's like, who do you think you are? And now, if you struggle with it too, I want you to see it as a sign. It's a sign that you're leveling up because you're getting outside of your comfort zone. And growth only happens in your comfort zone, outside of your comfort zone. So with this, it's important to notice what are the things that stop you from moving forward, taking accelerated action aligned with your dream, aligned with your purpose. You know, there's no such thing as failure. There's absolutely no such thing as failure. Just feedback. That's it. I mean, we all know about the guy who invented light bulb, right? And he tried 10,000 times, and then he found success. So this is about our willingness to step into courage, to step into tenacity, into perseverance, and keep going. All right, who here is a business owner or has a sales role or both? Let me see. Okay, I'm going to tell you about a story. It's really embarrassing, but I'm going to tell you. I'm like, okay, Rob, like, Spirit's like, nope, you got to tell this story. Okay, so I'm going to tell this story about the first time I had to do a sales. So this was early on in my coaching career. I was running a paid workshop, and towards the end of the paid workshop, you invite people into diving deeper with you. And so as I was working with my business coach lives in Toronto at this time. And so conceptually, I knew what to do, in theory, but I've never actually, I'm a very curious learner, so I hadn't seen this done. And so I'm like, okay. And so as I'm about to make the invitation, this little wound pops up, this trauma wound, around my first memory of sales. I'm 8 years old. I'm on vacation with my parents and my brother. We're in some sort of room, and there's these two salespeople, a man and a woman, talking to my parents. My brother and I are over here playing. And then after a little while, I get startled. I look over, and these salespeople are like leaning over and yelling aggressively at my parents. And my parents are like this. And I don't know what's happening. My heart is palpitating. I'm clenching on to my brother. I'm like, what's going on? I felt helpless. I felt out of control. I felt so scared. These people are going to hurt my parents? And then I look over, and my mom's now yelling at my dad because he just gave in to timeshare. And I'm freaked out. So that is the memory. Now I'm like, sales is manipulative, sales is aggressive, and sales is not safe. I didn't know I had this memory lurking around in my unconscious. And so here I am back at the workshop, ready to make the sell, and I'm awkward AF. I'm so awkward. I don't want what happened back then to emanate back in the room. And guess what happened? Energetically, it did. I made it so freaking awkward because I was so nervous and scared. And I was working so hard not to come across as pressury that somebody even called me out. Somebody was like, you are making us feel uncomfortable. And oh my God, I wanted wanted to die. I wanted to crawl under a rock and never come out again. But what did I do? I stayed as composed as I could, stumbled through the workshop, and then the workshop ended, thank God. Okay, just give me the feedback forms, give me the, probably nobody filled out the sales forms. But to my surprise, a few people did. And I couldn't even celebrate because I was so mortified. I was so mortified. I wanted to quit after this. I thought, if this is the vibe, I'm not in. Oh my God. But you know what I decided? No. This will not be the end of my story. This is a moment of feedback. This is not a failure, Roz. This is feedback. So I want you to think right now, what have you felt like you failed or you gave up on, or you were too scared to move forward? And I want you to reframe this. It is feedback. And so I made it my mission to work on my process that trauma, right? Work on my unconscious beliefs around sales, got mentored. I dived in deep, and now sales is one of my favorite things to coach people on. I want it to feel good for me, good for other people in the room, and it's a win-win-win. That's the only way to be. And so I want you to just, you can close your eyes now, we're going to vision out. Seeing yourself a year from now. Who you have become. Because this is about you becoming your next level version of yourself. That nudge in your heart, that desire that wants to come more alive, let it be here. Let's play it out. Let's invite the resource of your imagination. And notice, how are you moving in the world? How are you serving? That's aligned with your joy, aligned with your purpose, fulfillment. Feel the perfect feelings in this image. See what you see that's so perfect. Hear what you hear. Maybe you hear your clients, customers saying, thank you. You've changed my life. You hear your coworkers, your colleagues, your peers, your mentors cheering you on. Thank you for showing up. Thank you. Breathe this vision in. Breathe it into your heart space. Breathe it into your belly. Breathe it all with every fiber of your being. Make this bigger. Make this brighter. Make this panoramic. And then ground it down as you exhale into your feet. This is your energetic foundation. Beautiful. Breathe it in again. And then this time, breathe out through your solar plex or power center and create a bubble around you. Breathe this stream around you into your energetic field. Because as you are here, your body already knows what it feels like, what it looks like, what you hear. Now you're calling it in energetically. And I want you to repeat after me. Place your hand on your heart, one on your belly. I am worthy. Let's repeat after me louder, please. I am worthy.
I am worthy.
I am powerful.
I am powerful.
I want you to feel it. I don't want you to just say it. I want you to feel it in your heart. And I don't feel that you guys are feeling it, because I can feel that. Let's try again. I am powerful.
I am powerful.
I am here to serve.
I am here to serve.
And shine my gifts.
Shine my gifts.
Breathing in. And then breathing out through your solar plex into your bubble. Beautiful. Breathing in again. And then breathing down into your feet to lock it into your energetic foundation. Wonderful. Feel that. Let yourself feel it. And I want you to just feel into this song. You can sway your body as we embody this even more into your body.